Sadly, the flame has burned out. Yes, the NBA G League Ignite has officially folded. 4 years of existence, 2 right here in Henderson. On this episode of Sin City Beat, we're discussing what went right and what went wrong. Plus, we tackle the most important question of all. What does this mean for the future of the NBA right here in Las Vegas? Buckle up. Sin City Beat starts right now.
From Las Vegas, this is Sin City Beat.
Hello, and thanks for joining us on Sin City Beat. I'm your host, Mike Davis. Thanks for hanging out. So Sin City Beat is the show that dissects the Vegas sports world through the eyes of the sports reporters leading the charge. On today's show, we're breaking down the NBA's experiment with the G League Ignite organization. And joining the action today, we got Q Myers, the host of Unnecessary Roughness on Raider Nation Radio. We have our very own sports reporter, Mariah Janos with Fox 5 Las Vegas, and Case Kiefer, assistant sports editor of the Las Vegas Sun. Great to have you guys with us. So let's talk about this. Let's dive in. Before we break everything that went right, what went wrong, let's look back at the program and what it was really originally meant to be. So as I covered the team and spoke with members of the front office as well as coaches and players, the overall sentiment that was not only shared with me, but within the organization was that this G League team, with zero affiliation to an NBA franchise, was a team built first and foremost to develop players and create a pathway to the NBA. Frankly, winning a G League championship was not the goal. Therefore, Q Myers, what I'm curious to ask you right off the bat, when a sports franchise harbors that philosophy, does that mean it presents an inherent problem? How is the public and a fan base supposed to understand the nuance of prioritizing development over winning?
Well, they got to be able to sell that, right? They've got to say, hey, we have these guys that are going to be the future stars that you're going to grow up and love, similar to what you see in the summer league, but it's a developmental league, right? And so you're supposed to be able to sell it as come see these guys that are the future of the league, and you'll know them, you'll be affiliated with them or associated with them before they're ever stars, and then it's hard to ever know a guy. It's like, hey, I remember that guy when he played in the G League. Right. But it just, it was a hard sell to the public, especially here.
Right, yeah.
Very hard.
I think that's the biggest, that was the inherent issue, and I think that caused a lot of a rift within the community. Case, have you ever seen anything like this in all your years of covering sports? Something where winning takes a back seat to development?
Yeah, that's not exactly. I think in Las Vegas we're used to having some of these more minor league or not top level teams come through, fold after a couple of years. So in that regard, it's not new at all. But some of the top level guys that came through here, I mean, the Jonathan Kumingas, the Jalen Greens, Marjon Beauchamp, I'm trying to think of all of them. That's new. And I'd say, it was a necessary idea. I think a good idea. Could not lose these kids going to Australia that didn't want to play college basketball. It just always had kind of clumsy execution. How do you throw them into a league where, it seemed like everyone else was playing under different rules, had different objectives. So it never quite clicked, but I don't fault the NBA for giving this a shot for the last few years.
I think what's difficult, too, when looking at the rest of the G League teams, fans will tune in because you want to see the prospects that are going to make it to your NBA team. You want to know who's up and coming. You want to be kind of tuned into that. With there not being an affiliate, it's like, okay, what are we watching for? We're watching these kids that forewent the option to go to college, and we don't know where they're headed next.
Right,
and we don't
where they'll be drafted next.
When we watch the NBA draft, it's like, oh, I want to see where that kid that went off in March Madness. Right. Where is he going to end up? Right. So it's a little bit different there.
Yeah, and I think so for everybody at home, obviously the G League was originally the D League, which stood for developmental. Now it's Gatorade for the G League. But so many of these teams, within the G League, they're all a farm system, right? The Minnesota Timberwolves, they have the Iowa Wolves. So the G League Ignite team had no affiliation, and so many of these players, 4 years ago this starts, they're coming as a pathway to get to the NBA because there is no NIL.
Right.
There is no, pathway for them to actually make money in domestically without going overseas.
That changed the game too. NIL changed the game in a major way. Yeah. That gave others an option to say, you know what, I can go to school, I can enjoy what college is like, live that lifestyle, travel with teams, and oh, by the way, get paid at the same time. So now it gave them another option. Not to mention, when you talk about the G League team and you're here based in Vegas, well, you play in Henderson. So others that come to town that may say, hey, I want to go see Scoot Henderson. Oh, where? It's in Henderson? No, I'll just stay on the Strip. So it's that also, it plays a part into it. So you really have to get the local community to really embrace it. And so that was another difficult situation.
Yeah, there was a lot of challenges presented, but yes, there was a lot of things that also were highlights, and we're going to be getting into some of them. So beyond those shortcomings, there's no denying that this Ignite program developed some true talent. After the break, we're taking a look at this year's Ignite prospects that are hoping to make a mark in the association. Stick around.
You're watching Sin City Beat.
Welcome back to Sin City Beat. Well, formed in 2020, the Ignite team has served as a developmental program designed to take elite prospects to the next level, offering an alternative route rather than college basketball or overseas play, something like that. Now, here's where it kind of gets interesting. Within the first 3 years of the organization's existence, the Ignite has actually generated 10 NBA players, including 4 top 10 NBA draft picks with the likes of Jalen Green, Jonathan Kuminga, Dyson Daniels, and of course, Scoot Henderson. But this season had perhaps the most fanfare and excitement surrounding the squad, as there was a potential of 4 to 5 NBA picks. One of those guys is Ron Holland, a consensus 5-star prospect from Duncanville High School in Texas. And he's heading into the season. He was favored really to be the top pick in this year's NBA draft, but now the 6'6" small forward is projected to be more of like a top 5, top 10 pick. At 18 years old, Holland averaged just under 20 points per game and displayed great ability and effort on the defensive end as well. Case, was this season a success for Ron Holland? How do you look at it?
For Ron Holland, it'd be tough to call it a success. Like you said, some of the same mock drafts at the beginning of the year had him the top overall pick. I think it kind of showed the limitations of the developmental part of this when the team won, like 2 games. Right. It's hard for the players to really get better. I got to say, as much hype as there was on Ron Holland, and I'm not a draft Nick, I'm not an expert, but I'm pretty high on the Modest Bucelis kid, the other kind of lottery pick on the team. I know he's long, lanky, can kind of do a little bit of everything. To me, he's kind of like a future NBA player. They say this draft is really poor for NBA standards, so I don't know how that fits into all of it. But I like the Bucelis kid. I'm a little more bullish on him than Ron Holland.
Okay, now here's what's interesting, because Ron Holland, he comes in, he's an 18-year-old kid, and you got to realize the nature of the G League. He's 18 years old, and he's going up against guys who have NBA experience. You're not playing, a guy who's an economics major at UConn, but, made his way onto the team. He's playing against guys who have NBA experience. How hard is that for an 18-year-old to go up against them?
From Texas, by the way. From Texas. So basically, it's like if you go to college and you're a freshman in school and you're trying to find your way and your team's not winning, so then you're frustrated. And then the developmental, to Case's point, it's hard to develop when your team's not very good. Then you're frustrated. Then you're wondering, did I make the right decision? Should I have gone to school? Should I have done, it's not easy for an 18-year-old, again, from Duncanville, Texas. He had more people seeing him in high school at the arena than he did in Henderson.
5-star prospect, won a state title. But my question, Mariah, it's almost like the QB effect in the NFL. It's like Justin Fields. We don't even know if the guy is as good as he really could be, because the narrative, the optics around how bad he is because of what he hasn't done in his short few years. Can he ever succeed to what he should have been? And that's why my question is, if Ron Holland just went to UCLA, would it have been better for him from an optics standpoint rather than going to a place where you just don't know how people are going to look at you?
Yeah, absolutely. I think no matter where you end up, yes, you're going to focus on development. That's first and foremost. But I think with the G League Ignite, a lot of the times we're looking at the wins and losses column, and it's just not helping. And you're looking at the guys surrounding him as well. I think he struggles. I mean, at 18 years old, he's able to guard multiple positions really well, which is impressive. He can keep the guys in front of him. I think for him, the 3-ball is still an issue, and that's really going to determine his ceiling in the league. But he does have a lot of growth that he has to go through, and I don't know if the G League was really the right move for him. Again, going to a school, we already talked about NIL deals. There's so much benefit from going to college and playing at a university rather than a G League team with no affiliate.
And playing in the tournament. Stars are born in March.
Exactly.
Right? I mean, we're talking about, DJ Burns. Nobody was talking about DJ Burns until March.
He might be an NFL tackle.
I mean, that's what I'm saying. He's created enough buzz for himself because he's in the tournament and there's eyeballs on it.
The guys coming into this season that had the buzz, it was Ron Holland, of course, Modest Bucelis, Tyler Smith, and Ethan Almanza. These were the 4 guys. So right now, the 2 big mock drafts I've seen, Kevin O'Connor with the Ringer. He's got Modest going 5 to the Wizards, Ron Holland dropping to 7 to Portland, Tyler Smith to the Cavs at 23, and Ethan going in the 2nd round. And John Wasserman with Bleacher Report has Ron Holland going 3, Modest going 9, and Tyler Smith going 20, not even Ethan going in the 2nd round. So we're going to see what these guys ultimately do. I think it's an interesting example of a lot of hype and a program that, ultimately they got the job done. They're getting these guys to go to the league, but we don't know.
Can you stay?
Can you stay?
Yeah.
Can you stay? I mean, the NBA draft is so different than the NFL. You get drafted in the 1st or 2nd round in the NFL, you're good. You get drafted 15th overall in the NBA, you're like, well, this guy might make it. He might stick on a roster. You might not. I mean, it
might be back in the G League,
right?
on an affiliated team.
Yeah, exactly.
On an affiliated team. There you go. Case throwing that in. I love it. All right, guys. So now that the Ignite program is folding, what does that mean for the future of the NBA here in Las Vegas? My panel answers how the NBA will rebound after a short break. Okay, well, the old entertainment capital of the world is now also the sports capital of the world, so it's just a matter of time until the NBA finds its way to Vegas. Of course, Vegas already has back-to-back WNBA champions in the Las Vegas Aces, but many thought that the G League Ignite creating a community here in Henderson was an effort to build a bridge to an eventual NBA franchise. Mariah, how does the end of the Ignite franchise impact the future of the NBA here in Vegas?
It simply does not impact it at all. I mean, if we just talked about how this team did not perform well. It quite literally failed, and no one showed up to the games. I was there. There were no fans in the stands. But if you look at the in-season tournament coming to Vegas, if you look at Team USA playing here, Summer League, the arena's filled because people want to see quality basketball, and we have had that here on the court without even having a league here, which is honestly incredible. So I think, if anything, it just goes to show that when you put a good product on the court, people will show up and be there for it here in Vegas, and I think it's all the more reason for a team to come here. I think it sets it up perfectly.
It makes a lot of sense.
I know they sold it as a bridge, but I feel like the real bridge, everyone knows, is the media rights deal, which is up after next season. Yeah. They're going to get their untold billions of dollars, and then it's going to be expansion. And it's not even people say worst kept secret all the time. I can't believe I just said that. I hate that. It's not even a secret now. They're coming to Las Vegas after the media rights deal.
And we know that. Do you think, though, let's just say the Ignite did succeed, could the Aces, the Ignite, and an NBA franchise all exist in Las Vegas?
If they're good, sure. If they're not, no. Right? I mean, that's the thing about this. There's too many options, right? You can't be bad, right? We see it all the time. I mean, look, the Raiders are trying to make sure that they're really good, so allegiance packed with their fans. UNLV, they're trying to get really good, right? Because they want to pack the Thomas and Mack. If you don't win, they won't come, right? I mean, there's just way too many options here. The more products that you saturate the streets with means that you have to be good. And so an NBA team, they will appreciate it when it first gets here because it's Vegas' own. So, of course, that'll be the first attraction. But that'll wear out pretty quick if you're not good. You got to have it.
I think the Aces are a prime example. I mean, you look at it, they're one of the few teams in the WNBA that has a sold-out crowd almost every single night because the product on the floor is incredible, and it's leaps and bounds ahead of other teams in the league. And when you look at the start of the Aces franchise, it has come quite a long way in attendance, and I think that just goes to show, like you said, when there's that option to watch a dominant winning team, that's going to be your first choice in how you spend your Friday, Saturday night.
And do you think, I mean, is there anybody on this panel who doesn't think the NBA is going to come to Vegas? It's no question in everybody's
it was
I don't see nobody.
So it's a given.
It's all been announced. Should we get Adam Silver on the phone?
It's a given.
Right.
Adam Silver just doesn't keep bringing it up to LeBron James to be like, haha, it's a joke.
Right.
Like, he knows this is happening. LeBron James is going to be involved in Fenway Sports Group. I mean, it is all but done. It's just, we got to wait a little bit.
You think it's LeBron's the owner?
I think
part
for
of it, for sure. For sure. He's got his toes in the water. There's no doubt about it. There's no doubt.
Okay, interesting. I think it could be, I mean, listen, Shaq, there's a lot of people that can be involved. And do you think it's Seattle first before Vegas?
Same time.
Together.
Same time.
Yeah.
They'll do like the old school movie, man. Same time, man. I don't know you. You know what I mean? Same time, man. Same time. Same fair exchange, you know. But yeah, Seattle and Vegas will both, they'll get their team at the same time. It makes sense.
Okay, so Vegas ultimately getting a team. I think that would be, I think having the star power of LeBron, Shaq, all that stuff would be great. I think, though, in my estimation, I don't know if a G League team could actually exist here in the nature of Las Vegas and all the competing stuff, I don't know if it would have existed along with an NBA franchise. That's why I did believe it was a bridge, you know. But I don't know.
Look at the Henderson Silver Knights.
Right.
There's no one there either because you got the Golden Knights, the defending Stanley Cup champions. Even when they're on a skid, people are showing up. You're going to go to the highest level game. And
unless you're local, you're not really going to go off of the strip. Like, you're not. People that come in town, you know, when Wemby was here, there's everybody. They had NBA fans there packing, you know, the whatever the name of it is now, the Lee's spot, right? I mean, that's what it is. They were there watching the games. They were excited about that. It was on ESPN. Everybody was checking it out. But then as soon as that star power is gone, then why are you going to come to town, go to Vegas, and then say, well, I'm going to go 15 minutes to Henderson? You're not going to do it.
And the thing with these G League Ignite players specifically is, yes, heading into the draft, we start knowing their names, figuring it out. But when they're, again, that 18-year-old kid coming from Texas, that's not a big name. We don't know who that is. We have to wait for them to develop in order to go and support it.
When you initially asked the question, I think we latched onto the Aces part, and there's no doubt in my mind the NBA team and the Aces can coexist. I think there are real questions of if there can also be a G League team, but I think it's a moot conversation. I don't think there's going to be a G League team here when we get the NBA team.
Now, if any of you guys were 5-star consensus prospects like Ron Holland was, would you have chosen the Ignite over going to a bona fide D1 program? Could you have seen how that?
That's a good question, because you have to ask me when. Right? Is it pre-NIL or during NIL?
No, during NIL. These guys were making
college. Get me to college, make me millions of dollars.
But see, I wasn't a school guy. Like, I went to school to play dominoes and talk to girls.
Well, what do these
I did it well.
do? These athletes
I did it well.
I like to say no, and I'm going to want to play in the NCAA tournament, but some of these guys before NIL really took off, they were getting $1 million contracts to come to the G League. So am I really going to say, I'm not going to take the $1 million, I'm going to go have the college experience? I don't know. I might have been coming to Vegas.
Just knowing me, I would have probably gone the G League style, just because I wasn't a school dude. School was never my bag.
Who knew Q and I'd be on the same page?
I say college, get your bag doing Nike deals. If you're a bust in the NBA, you already got millions.
Well, now I just think it's a different conversation. A couple
you know
years
what?
ago.
Look at this. Who would have thought Q and Case could be in the same fraternity?
Well, my shirt's better than his though. His shirt was a red shirt, but it was actually a white shirt, and the red shirt was in with the whites, and that's why his name out pink.
No. Just watch out for us on the pick and roll. I'm just saying.
Hey, there you go, guys. Next up, we're debating it up. Yes, 50 years into the future, let's just say which Ignite alum will be viewed as the best NBA player. Will it be Scoot? How about Jalen Green? He does kind of look good in Houston. The panel gives their takes after these words. Welcome back. Okay, let's have some fun and look far into the future.
Yes.
So down the road, looking back, which Ignite prospect will ultimately have the best NBA career? From Scoot Henderson to Jalen Green and Ron Holland, Modest Buzelis, there's a lot to choose from. Q, you're going to have first crack.
That's what I'm talking about. I got to go with Jalen Green. That dude's a bloodthirsty pirate. I mean, that dude is a monster. He was an animal in high school, right? I mean, and he gets to the G League team, and he shows what he can do. And it took him a little while to take off in the league, but you see what he's capable of.
Yeah.
And, I mean, he showed that, again, he showed that at such a young age. I think that the sky is really the limit for him. He can take off. He's now in Houston with a really good head coach. That's obviously going to help him develop as well. But just based off of pure talent, just raw abilities, I got to say Jalen Green's that dude.
I mean, you can't teach. He's a pure scorer.
Yeah.
You just can't teach some of the things he can do. And it's impressive.
And he was angry that he went number 2. He still got that edge to him.
Right.
And, you know, he's a 5'9" guy. You know, them cats with edge, man. Watch out for them.
But, you know, going to, I think that really put this program on the map. But moving forward, I mean, Case, what about you? Who do you think is really going to be the guy looking back into the future? We're going to just say this guy is an animal.
I'm going to be clear. This is a completely biased opinion, but I do think he has a shot. I'm going with Jaden Hardy, the local kid from Coronado. I got to take you back all the way to he was 14. I used to coach an all-star game at the beginning of every high school season here. Shout out Halloween Hoops. And
find out you were a coach.
Jeff Kopp. I mean, I was a celebrity coach.
Okay.
I was not a coach.
I'm glad we specified that. I was like, wait a minute, man. What'd you coach?
All the kids. We just know Jaden Hardy's supposed to be a great freshman. I let him go in like the 10th round to the opposing coach. He shows up and puts like 36. I lose again in the all-star game.
Wow.
Ever since then, I'm like, this kid's going to be something. And he was unbelievable. And you want to talk about the failings of the league marketing stuff. They should have been hyping up this kid. He was unbelievable. There should have been eyeballs watching him. He's in a really good situation at the Mavericks with Luka Doncic.
I think
Jaden Hardy, local guy, watch out for him.
You seem like a good coach. Like, you're the type of guy who would have brought Capri Sun and sliced orange.
Nah, Q's right here. It was bad. I mean, Especially
I think
all-star
morale's
games in this
high.
day and age, no one tries. So I'm
Man.
like, just please, I can't
I
lose.
need some intensity,
There you go.
coach. Let's go.
All right,
Come on,
Mariah.
fellas. Let's go.
Mariah, what about you?
I'm going with the kid that's been having a breakout season. He's not playing at the moment, but Jonathan Kuminga. I'm looking at him. I think he's really become the most reliable secondary scorer for the Warriors behind Steph Curry, and it's just been incredible. You know, he's averaging 16.3 points per game, shooting 52.9% from the field, and he's really just been able to do it all. He broke the Warriors.
He jumps out the gym.
Yeah.
He can jump out the gym.
He broke the record for dunks within the Warriors franchise. He's at 135 right now. He's played 70 games. That's a little less than 2 dunks per game for, again, a smaller forward. I like him. I think his future is very bright. This is a jumping off point for him. And in an organization like the Warriors, I think he can really thrive.
Yeah,
And he cut his hair.
Yeah,
He cut his hair.
Hey.
You know when you cut your hair,
He
it's
gets
something.
faster.
You got a point to prove when you cut your hair. It's something special.
Unless it's biblical and you're Samson and you lose all your power, because Samson did lose all his ability after.
He ain't losing nothing. He jumping out the gym, brother.
I'm going to say, in case I think you're feeling me on this point, covering the team, I've loved this guy ever since I met him. I really think Modest Buzelis at 6'8", 209 pounds, this small forward, I'm telling you, this guy, this is where the NBA is going.
Yeah.
He can do a little bit of everything at his length, at his height, his ability to go coast to coast with the ball, dribble. I mean, look at that. That's a 6'8" guy right there doing, some freakish stuff. And he's had 2 game winners on a big stage in the NBA All-Star Game and the Rising Stars Challenge. He had a turnaround, fadeaway, Dirkish kind of a game winner. He's had a lot of big moments already in his young career. I like him. He's got some swag. He's already had a GQ photo shoot.
Hey, man.
He already had
I ain't mad at that,
He
man.
already had the
I ain't mad at
GQ
that.
photo shoot. The comp I'm seeing from John Wasserman from Bleacher Report is that he's like a Hedo Turkoglu. We all remember him.
I'm taking the over after you. I mean, you should be his agent the way you're selling. Oh my God, I'm not
right.
perennial also.
Taking
Let's
his
the
pockets.
celebrity coach him now.
Right.
I'm saying if you can get a more athletic Hedo Turkoglu,
That's where you're right though. That's where the league's going. That's you know what I mean. Like that's that style of player. So he has an opportunity to thrive. I can totally see that.
It's crazy, and we all know though it comes down to really situation. What team do you go to? How are you going to get to foster that talent? All that kind of stuff, guys. Last words. We got a minute left. Anybody want to say a goodbye thought to this program? Anything else?
I think we should just mention the game when Victor Wembanyama came to take on Scoot Henderson in that exhibition. I think when we look back at the G League Ignite 5 years from now, people are still going to be talking about that moment. So Lisa gave us that one big grand thing that we can remember.
The arena was packed out, right? It was awesome.
Yeah.
So I got a tag team with my guy.
I just say R.I.P.
Pour
May
out some
their
liquor.
memories be eternal.
See, well, that's beautiful.
Yes.
We should have ended on
Bye,
that. That's
Felicia.
beautiful. There you go. I want to thank my amazing panel. Look at these guys. Case Keeper, Mariah Janos, Q Myers. I'm Mike Davis. We'll see you next time on Sin City Beat. The dominoes. Okay, teach us how to play dominoes now.
Domino, mother. Oh, you thought I got you.
I thought we were talking pizza. I was ready for pizza.